It's just kind of been like more and more eye-opening all the time. And you look at all these, like the segregation that they're trying to put in, this disunity that they're trying to put into our society. And I seriously do not agree with forcing people or coercing people to do something like a medical procedure with their body that they don't want to do.
Well, I've got Stephenie Smith on here with me today, and welcome to the Carla Rand Show, Stephenie. Nice to have you on here. I connected with Stephenie through basically your post that you did about this letter that you were reading, and as I was listening to it, and I was watching you, I was like, man, this is really, really good. This is covering so many things. So I reached out to you, and then this is kind of how this podcast came to me, but I don't know you super well. Our listeners don't know you, Stephenie. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you're from, that kind of stuff?
For sure. I grew up here in Fort St. John, BC. I was born and raised. I still live here. My husband, he was born in Saskatchewan, but he only lived there for like the first year of his life. So he was born and raised here as well. We got married here a few years ago. My immediate family all lives here. I work here.
Nice.
Everything.
It's kind of with me too. I grew up in Edson, Alberta. I was born here. I was raised here. I went away for school and came back, but like, it's, really grounded. Hey, like good foundation. Yeah, that's awesome. So a little bit more then, what are you doing right now? What's kind of your job or what do you have going on?
Yeah, currently I work at a gym here. I am a personal trainer. I teach boot camps, and I'm also a yoga instructor. And I'm also currently taking my kinesiology degree, or trying to, at GPRC, and then have that transfer to U of A or U of C.
So what got you into fitness training? How come you decided to do fitness training amongst many other options?
I tried a lot of things. I'm 27. I tried a lot of different things in my young years. I worked at A Good Life in Victoria. I was taking my registered holistic nutrition there, and working at the gym and just seeing the personal trainers, I was like, hey, that would be a really fun job, actually. And I've always been active. I played sports growing up, and I was in the gym, and I had done some triathlons, and I enjoy working with people. I enjoy helping people. I've done a lot of customer service in my life, and I'm organized, and I just was like, hey, I think I'll like that. And so I kind of got into taking some courses, and then I continue to try to extend my knowledge and learn as much as I can.
So you said you were trying to take your kinesiology degree. What's going on there? How come you're trying, and how come you're not doing it?
So I'm in finals right now, but GPRC has mandated that everybody be double vaccinated by January 3rd. And so if you're not vaccinated, you are not allowed on campus.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, not allowed to continue.
So do they have an option for you to do it online or something?
No, they have a couple courses that they offer online. So I can take nutrition next semester as an elective online. I'm taking English through Athabasca next semester as well, because it's an elective that I need. But kinesiology, they don't have as something they can do online.
Okay. All right. So this will kind of get us into why you wrote that letter. Okay. So obviously, is that the biggest reason you wrote the letter about, not agreeing with these mandates?
Yes. So back in September 13th is when BC put in their vaccine passports. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started writing this letter. I was so frustrated with everything. And so I wrote an abbreviated version of the letter that I shared, and I sent it to Dix and Horgan and Bonnie Henry, and I sent it to O'Toole and Trudeau. And I had full intentions of expanding that letter earlier and sending it out to MLAs and stuff. I actually, what I wanted to do was present it at my city council, but council wasn't taking any COVID discussions related anything. So I couldn't do that. But with school, I was super busy. So it just kind of pushed it off onto the back burner until finally GPRC also put the mandate in. And I was like, enough's enough. I've got to do something. I've got to use my voice for something.
Mm-hmm. So what is it about these mandates that you find the most frustrating? So basically, like, you don't need to obviously read the letter, but like, what is going on in your head? Why are you so upset? I mean, obviously, you're not getting the vaccine, there's got to be a reason for that. What's your
Yeah.
reason?
What's my reason to not get the vaccine?
Yeah.
I mean, at first off, it started out that it was like brand spanking new, and I wanted to kind of wait and see. I had no real, like, no, I'm not getting this. I just kind of wanted to see where it went. But then from there, it's just kind of been like more and more eye-opening all the time. And you look at all these, like the segregation that they're trying to put in, this disunity that they're trying to put into our society. And I seriously do not agree with forcing people or coercing people to do something like a medical procedure with their body that they don't want to do. And I don't think that a disease or an illness that has over a 99% survival rate should have something that is forced upon society like this.
So when did you start to realize that something was off? Because you said you were thinking, probably get the vaccine eventually, but I'm just going to kind of wait it out, see what happens. And then obviously there was a reason why you're like, okay, actually, I'm not going to wait and see what happens. I just don't want this thing. So what kind of tipped you off to that?
Yeah. I mean, like everybody else, when the first lockdown started, I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Like, it just like came out of nowhere and everyone was freaking out. And so obviously I was like, we stayed at home for those, like, I mean, what were they, like a couple months that everyone was locked down? We stayed at home. We limited our going out. We didn't go see family. But then it just kind of kept going on, and it just wasn't making sense. Like, things just started to not add up as they continue to do so. And I kind of just started opening my eyes, I guess, and taking a look at the effects that all of these mandates and lockdowns have caused that are so negative that could have potentially been prevented by not doing them. And just if you look at mental health and addictions and suicide rates, and you look at the economy and people's jobs and all the hate and everything that's being spread, like, it just opens my eyes.
It's almost like, that the what they're trying to do is worse than the disease, right? Like, yeah.
Totally. And I don't want to like say that, I mean, for all the people that have died from it, like, obviously my heart goes out to all those families and all those people. And I wish like every death could be prevented. And unfortunately, that's not the case. But I just wonder, at what cost is it that we're going to continue to do this?
Yeah. So you're basically saying that it seems like what they're doing to get rid of this COVID, or what, the mandates, the vaccine, all of these lockdowns and whatever is actually, well, number one, it doesn't seem to be helping. That's the way I see it. It doesn't seem to be doing any good. So
yeah,
it's a huge sacrifice, like you said, on mental health, on finances, on just families, on the division that it's causing. I just feel like, how can you even go back now? Like, so much damage has been caused.
Totally. I 100% agree with you. Yeah. It's just like, I don't know if a normal that we had before will ever be achieved again. And it's totally separating families and partners and friends. And it's crazy. I think it's crazy.
Yeah. What do you find the most triggering? Would you say, like, what bothers you the most about these mandates? Because there's a lot of different things, but it seems like each person has kind of something that just really bothers them. What's that for you?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't even know.
I think for me, it's kind of the unfairness and not listening to the other side. I think that's what bothers me the most. So for me, seeing like they're like, oh, talk to the doctors, talk to the professionals. It's like, we are talking to the doctors, we are talking to the professionals, but they are being censored. They're being ignored. They're being dismissed. And some of them have as many or more credentials than the experts on the other side that are saying, oh, everybody should get the vaccine. And they're saying the opposite thing, but we're not listening to them. So I feel like, okay, if you got a whole bunch of scientists around the table, everybody talked about it and everybody came up with a good conclusion about what we should do and how we should move forward, boom, that's good. That's what we want to do. But when you get just these scientists around the table and you get rid of all the other scientists around the table that might disagree, then it's no longer science. We're not following science anymore. We're following I don't know what, we're following specific scientists, maybe, or we're following the government, we're following some leader in AHS. Like, who are we even following? Because it's not the science, clearly. If you do some research, you'll see that there's a ton of doctors and nurses and other healthcare workers that are saying, this isn't adding up, and I don't think this is a good solution.
Yeah. 100%. And I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I think like another part of it too is just the way they are blaming it completely on the unvaccinated, and how they're making people that are unvaccinated seem like they are just the ones spreading everything around. But then you look at this new variant that has come out, and it's gotten into countries that are only allowing vaccinated people to enter and leave. So it's like, how did it get there?
Yeah, I think, yeah. So how did you come up with this stuff? Did you do your own research? Was it just observing? Like, where did
a lot of from CDC. Like, that's where I got the majority of my numbers from. And I would just take, the number of people who had got COVID and divide that, the number of people who had COVID and have, how many people had died from it, and just do the math myself right there. A lot of it I've seen on videos where I've looked into people's credentials, and these people have said things that I shared. I did research on the Charter of Rights and Freedoms myself, and I read many parts of that to come up with those. Yeah, I mean, it's there if you just have to look for it.
And I find that you don't even have to look that hard sometimes, because I find too, like, you can just go and it's quite obvious, because it's like, it's on the AHS website, or it's on like the CDC guidelines, like it's right there. And so I find it so interesting that even though there's more and more research coming out, the narrative is still the same. Like, there's more research saying that this vaccine isn't working. There's more and more research pointing to the fact that the risks of the vaccine probably actually outweigh the benefits. And we're seeing cases continue to rise. Things are getting worse, not better, the more highly vaccinated we are. So it's like, okay, when do you stand back and say, wait a sec, maybe we need to reevaluate our process. Maybe we need to reevaluate our strategy. But I feel like that's not happening. And I wonder if that's not happening, maybe, Stephenie, because I know for me, you know how you keep going and you're like, oh shoot, I made a mistake, so now I got to make another mistake to cover up that mistake, and then I got to make another. It's almost like they've gone so far. If they back up now and they say, we're really sorry, we were wrong, they're, people are going to slam them so hard, because they're going to say, I know somebody who committed suicide over this. I know people who got, vaccine adverse effects, and they'd be just like, they'd probably be sued like crazy over this if they admitted it. So it's like they're at a point, they've backed themselves into a corner where they cannot admit it, or they're going to be in hot water. And I think, like, that's my guess anyways of why they're not turning around.
Yeah, my husband and I have talked about that as well, how, it just seems like they've made so many mistakes that at this point they can't just be like, okay, this was a mistake, we take it all back, let's start again. But we also, like, is there a part of this that is just purely about gaining control? Potentially. I mean, there's no guarantee that we can say yes or no, but it sure seems like it. I mean, you look at Australia, and it seems like what they're doing is, like, they want control of their population. And I mean, maybe that's what this is here too.
And if it's not what they're trying to do, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that they're not trying to do that. Well, they're certainly doing that. Whether they're trying or not, that's what's happening, because they're saying no to these people and yes to these people, and and you're double vaxxed. Well, that's great, but now you have to be triple vaxxed. Like, so they can just make the rules whenever they want, and they can change them whenever they want. It's very controlling, and I think that's what I'm seeing. I think a lot of us are seeing that as well, and I think a lot of people too, Stephenie, they went ahead, they got the vaccine maybe right out of the gate, and then maybe they got the second vaccine right out of the gate, and then maybe now they've even gotten the third vaccine. But when, like, a lot of them are starting to say, okay, when is this going to end? Because I'm doing everything they're telling me to do, but nothing's changing. So I think for me, that's where the bells go off. The red flags start to wave, because it's like, nothing's changing. We're doing what we're told. We're doing what the health care system is telling us to do. We're doing what the government is telling us. We're doing what the quote unquote experts are telling us to do. And things are only getting worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's like in BC, Alberta, we all have different rules and regulations and mandates a little bit, but in northern BC, they've really, because our vaccination rate was quite low, they really put the hammer down up here. And I mean, even the vaccinated have limited things that they're allowed to do. Like you can only go to funerals and weddings and events and restaurants and gyms if you're vaccinated. And we don't have a negative rapid test option. So there's still, like, if you're only going to have vaccinated people at your wedding, why do they still have to have a limit on how many people can be there? And they still have to wear masks and all this stuff if the vaccine is so effective.
Yeah. I know. I think that's what a lot of people are seeing. I think a lot of people are just like, this is not going to go away. But it's interesting because people talk about, the conspiracy theorists and at first I was like, and I mean, there's some conspiracies that are really wacky, and I will say that, okay? But there's a lot of things that were predicted. And there's even books that have been written, articles that have been written, videos that have been made. And I mean, I haven't read all them, seen all them, anything, but there's you get a glimpse into it. And I feel like, oh my goodness, everything that they predicted has come to pass, right? So I feel like everything they predicted has come to pass. But the things that, the healthcare gurus, what they were saying, the expert doctors and stuff, what they were saying is, as we get vaccinated, then pretty soon this will all go away. If we just lock down, we'll be able to stop this from spreading. None of this is happening, and yet it seems like people are still listening to the people that are constantly wrong, and not listening to the people that have been predicting every single thing in pretty much the exact timing as well. So it kind of blows your mind. So as much as I'm like, I got to be careful who I listen to, and you don't want to go down too many rabbit holes, but at the same time, you're like, you got to start looking at the evidence. You got to look at what's actually happening in front of you. You got to talk to people, not just listening to the mainstream media, because they're only saying one thing. They're constantly pushing one agenda. You got to look at the whole thing, and you got to evaluate it and make decisions based on that, is how I see it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, they just keep doing the same things, and everyone, well, not everyone, obviously, but so many people follow them, or they've been forced to follow them in order to keep their livelihood and feed their families. Yeah. So it doesn't seem to be making too much of a difference. And I mean, our regular cold and flu has not been eradicated from vaccines. It mutates every year, and we have a new strain, and that's why we have a new flu shot. And I think this is just, our new cold and flu. And unfortunately, it's more severe. And I personally, I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an epidemiologist, but I don't think it's going to be eradicated because we're past the herd immunity point in so many places. Herd immunity is like somewhere in between 70 and 80%. And so many places are way past that. And they're still not seeing COVID gone. They still have cases and they still have issues.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we could talk about this for a long time, but I agree. I just feel like we all need to just, give your head a shake, think about what's going on, and evaluate, okay, is this the way we want to continue to live? Or do we need to just say, you know what, enough of this? And I guess that's the thing too. Like, when I talk to people, when they talk about, like, you got to go to the doctors, because we're not doctors, you and I, we're not the experts on this. So should we should we even be talking about it? But the thing is the experts that are talking about it, they're being censored. And I haven't had anybody yet be able to tell me and give me a good explanation for that. Right? Yeah. If you want to believe this thing, that, everybody's dying from COVID, the vaccine's going to help, and that the cases are going to start to go down eventually. If you want to believe that, fine. Even though we're not seeing that, maybe eventually that'll happen. But why are these doctors being censored? Why aren't we hearing from everybody? And that's where, like, if I would love it if somebody could give me a good explanation on that, and to just say, oh, but there's no other experts saying that. Well, that just tells me you're not doing your homework, because there's a lot, and it's easy to find. It's out there, right?
I would love to hear an answer to that.
Yeah, anything you want to say about that? Because I want to kind of move on from COVID and talk a little bit more about fitness and stuff.
No, like you said, representation is super important, and having a diversity and representation is super important. And they're firing people from caucus and government. And if you don't have a representation of your population, whether it be beliefs or religion or genders or race, whatever that may be, you are not representing your population well. So I think, I agree with you. I think that's super important, and it'll help take away bias as well.
Yeah, and I think it's different if it's your own private business, your own private organization. Well, then you can do whatever you want. But if you are there to represent all of the people, then you should be doing that, right?
Yeah.
And bringing everybody to the table. Okay, so let's talk about how to use how like what are you doing right now, Stephenie, to stay fit, to stay healthy, and to just keep a good positive mindset through all of this? Because I'm interested to hear what you're doing, and I think a lot of our listeners will be as well, because there's a lot of that, oh, we got to stay healthy, we got to boost our immune system, you got to keep a positive mindset. So, or like, how are you doing with that?
Some days are better than others. I think meditation and finding time for relaxation to get yourself in that parasympathetic nervous system mode rather than your sympathetic, your fight or flight mode is huge in like calming everything down and allowing everything to work properly. So whether that be meditation, journaling, breath work, prayer, whatever that might be for you, I think that's super important. And then also obviously getting the body moving in whatever way you enjoy. It doesn't necessarily have to be weightlifting or yoga or running. It can be just going for a walk every day, or going to spin classes, or going to the gym, or doing workouts at home. Just something that gets your blood pumping, gets everything moving, gets those endorphins going. And then I think obviously a healthy diet is so important, being hydrated, eating enough fiber, getting your protein in, your vegetables, your fruits, your antioxidants. And then if you need supplementation on top of that, then from there, supplementing. And I think vitamin D, especially where we live in the wintertime, super important. Vitamin C, omega-3s, vitamin B, all that kind of stuff. So I take supplements every day, and I try to move my body every day, and I try to meditate and sit down and slow down every single day.
And do you feel like that's helping you a lot? Like, do you feel like if you didn't have all that, you might not be in a good place right now?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. And not being able to move my body in some way that I enjoy every day. And I think that's another big thing, like, sorry to take it back, but they've blocked gyms for, certain people. And I think that's just like so bad. Where are people supposed to go to release this and have a good way to put their energy and stuff into?
Yeah. And I mean, I teach primarily group fitness. So for me, I was shut down. I mean, you can't even imagine. Well, a lot. Like, it seemed like every 2 or 3 months, it was like, oh, we're shutting it down again. We're shutting it down. And I mean, I got to the point too, where I was just like, this isn't fair. This isn't fair to the people that come here, because a lot of my clients, yeah, they come for the physical benefits. Absolutely. But a lot of them are coming from the mental benefits. And I think if you talk to any professional about mental health, the first thing they're going to ask you is, are you getting outside? Are you getting active? Do you have a good support group? And are you eating well? And all of that can be done, particularly at the gym, but especially in a group fitness class where you're socializing with people, you're talking about clean eating, you're talking about all of this kind of stuff, and you are supported in your fitness. Man, does that ever help people's mental health? And so I think a lot of people just really ended up in the dumps because they had no outlet.
Absolutely. And it takes such a toll on your physical health to be in that mindset. It's stress is so bad for you. And when you're feeling all this stress and pressure and anxiety, it can really take a toll on your physical and mental well-being.
Yeah, I think you and I, honestly, we are in healthcare. Like, I think the healthcare industry is actually more like sick care. You know what I mean? Like, they're dealing with people that are really sick, people that need medication, people that maybe need extra help. They need to be laying down in bed. Like, that's kind of the people they're dealing with. But I feel like you and I, it's preventative. We're helping people so that they don't end up in sick care. And I feel like to shut down the real preventative health care, I feel like, what are we even doing? It's like we're shooting ourselves in the foot, right? On one hand, it's like, let's all be healthy. Let's boost our immune system. But on the other hand, let's shut everybody down in their homes. Let's, fill them with fear all day.
Yes.
It's kind of crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, obesity is like one of the number one factors on the severity of your illness if you get COVID. And so your health is even more important now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot I could say, but I think we'll kind of wrap it up. Do you have any closing words, either about like fitness or about COVID or about anything like that before we kind of shut this down?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, Stephenie. So where do people go if they want to find more about you? Like what are you called, like either on Facebook, or do you have a website, or how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, I have, I'm on Instagram as Stephenie Smith, and then I have Stephenie Smith Wellness as a Facebook page. And I think those are the two main ways to get a hold of me.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Stephenie. And if you want to check out, if you go to Stephenie Smith Wellness on Facebook and just kind of scroll down, you can kind of hear her reading her letter, and it's just really good. I just really appreciate it that you just seem to hit all the main points. And so I was glad we were able to get to that a little bit today too. So yeah, thanks again for taking the time, Stephenie. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It was very nice meeting you, Carla.
Thank you for tuning into the podcast today. I absolutely love that you joined us. I love being able to record these, and I love our guests. It's been so much fun. So thank you. Please like it, share it, comment, do all of the things that you feel like you want to do if you enjoyed this podcast. I really, really appreciate that. And this podcast has been brought to you by my company, Power Fitness Online. So everything that we do locally with our workouts, with our group nutrition coaching, and with all of the other fun events and stuff that we run, we put all of that online. So now you can access everything, even if you're not locally, don't live in our area. So my coaches and I and all my staff, the whole team, we are putting so much work into these workouts. We're filming 5 fresh workouts every single week so that you never have to do the same workout twice. We're also doing group nutrition and personal nutrition coaching so that you get exactly what you need. And you know what the best part is? It's the community. The absolute best part is just knowing that you have the support, that you have the encouragement, that you have everything you need to succeed. So go to powerfitnessonline.com.